Hello, beautiful souls. So right before I was going to record, my Yorkie here decided to jump on the table. So I guess maybe she wants to say hi. Say hi. Her name is Ebony. Say hi. Here I have in front of me some paper flowers that I've been creating. I made about 90. My goal was to make 100. And I stopped at 90. And these are real easy to do. It doesn't require a die, a metal cutting die. It doesn't require a rosette metal cutting die, and it doesn't require for you to score like you would when you make a rosette. These I don't consider rosettes at all. These are more like gathered flowers. They're really simple to make, and this was not my original idea. However, when you make them, yours are going to come out different than everybody else's. So mine did come out different than the video that I saw. And I don't know who started it, so I can't really give credit, even though I saw the video. It's it wasn't her original idea either. So so I'm just sharing that it's not my original idea, but I don't know who started it. So, but all I can do is show you how I did it, okay? I will have, like a little tutorial after I show you what how I embellished these and how I use them. These are how the flowers that I created turned out embellished. I think they turned out so pretty. And I did create some paper beads. My friend Ida, who is created to create, she made beads that were this shaped to make the bodies of butterflies. And then I had forgotten about that video, 'cause she did it, I think, last year or the year before. I don't even remember. And then I started seeing Eileen Payne, who is Eileen Payne here on YouTube. She started, making these paper beads. And that got me a little bit more motivated to make paper beads. So I went like ODing on paper beads, if you will. And what I did was, after I saw her video, I started watching tons, and I was like binge watching how other people made paper beads, and I got a lot of tips and tricks, watching other videos. And one I came across, she actually used embossing powder to seal her paper beads. And I loved that idea because look at the shine. And since this is done with copy paper, you don't really feel, depending how many coats you seal it with, what? How many coats you add on to the to your paper bead, you don't even feel the paper at all. Okay, so since I don't really have a lot of clear embossing powder, which was gifted to me by my friend Carmen, who is Carmen's Treasures, I only did one coat on these particular ones. I did like more than one on these other beads that I will show you in a moment. But she I saw that they were sealing it with clear embossing powder. I'm like, wow, people are just so clever here on YouTube. I mean, you guys are like amazing to me, Anyway, so I took that idea and I started sealing these. The only thing I don't like about it is that if you touch it too much, the shine goes away. I don't know why, because it feels a little bit tacky, like what is that sealer called that people seal their clay with? Anyway, I forgot, but some sealers or even the glossy Mod Podge, it feels tacky to the touch. And you know, like the gloss eventually goes away because it's so tacky and it has, you know, your fingers all over it. Anyway, that's the only downside to using it like that. I think I'm gonna try finding a different method, but this is like the easiest and quickest way to seal something, and you don't have to wait for it to dry. You know, like you don't have to wait hours for it to dry. Anyway, so that's one. I'm just going to show you a few, and then I'm going to show you how I use these, how I use them as embellishments, okay? These are great to put on mini albums, planners, journals, you know, your card making, just about anything you can think of. You know, you can decorate, like if you're altering a box, you can decorate them with these. That they will look so pretty. You don't necessarily have to put beads on it. You can omit the beads and the flowers will still look pretty, you know, as long as you decorate it. And I did use stickles for the edges of the flowers. And even though this is done with copy paper, you know, because it's gathered, you can't really use cardstock because you're going to have a difficult time. You know, I printed digitals on copy paper, and it's you know, once you gather it up, it feels like cardstock. I tell you no lie, it really does feel like cardstock. So I used 2 different papers here, and then I used the same, you know, designer paper here, and then, you know, you can alternate. You can use the same designer paper, or you can layer it with 2 different designer papers. Isn't that pretty? This one is a little bit more vintage. I love, love, love the way these turned out. Love, love. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I used them. So I finally made my first time ever 3x3 note cards. I finally made note cards. OMG. I'm not a card maker. I don't make cards. So to start off slow, I decided, well, let me do the smaller ones that I've seen people do. I think there are 3x3 note cards and 4x4. I don't know if there's any 2x2, which would be cute because it's smaller. But this is how I decorated the note cards. Okay. So, and then I printed, I wrote a sheet of just sentiments, and then I printed them on 8.5 by 11 sheet, you know, designer paper. It could be digital paper, or it could be a 12 by 12 that you cut to size, and then you just, you know, print out sentiments on those. So you type in, you know, a whole list of sentiments. You know, you space them out accordingly, and then you print them out on your designer paper, and then you make little sentiments. So that's what I did here. And I did this because I do use these popsicle sticks that I had hauled. I have this size and I have a much smaller size, and I did it so that I can fit them here. Because I don't, you know, have like really small stamp sentiments, you know, so that I can just stamp it on there. That's one of them. Here's another. And these digitals here, these elements here, are from the designer collection, designer paper collection that I had created called Victorian Lace Tea Party. So that's how I decorated these. Isn't that pretty? So I used them here, the flowers. And then here's one that I added the beads to. I think that is so pretty. And these images I get on, I got on Pinterest, and they're not always clean like this. I actually have to digitize them, you know, I have to edit them digitally, you know, to clean them up. Isn't that pretty? And this one is laminated, and I have a video, you know, it's linked in the description box below, and how you can laminate on just one side of your paper, and that way you can glue paper to paper. And then here's another one. I also digitalized her, well, I edited her digitally, and I added a designer paper to her clothes. Isn't that pretty? Okay. And I'm not going to use these as note cards, not all the time. I'm going to actually use these like in a journal, or in a album, a photo album, because I can glue this part down and then this can open up and I can add pictures in here, or I can use it as a journaling spot for a mini album, photo album, a journal, a planner, you know, like things like that. Okay. And then this here, look how pretty this is. I have a sheet of different size scrolls with different cherubs or angels, and it's already in Teatime and Dolls Etsy shop. It's a full sheet of this. So they actually look like this. It's 3 sheets because you have different sizes to cut. Then you have this one here, that you have these 2 larger ones for, you know, big tags, and these smaller ones here. So this one here, I believe, is a 6.5 size. This one is a 4.5. This one is a 3 3/4, I believe. And then here's the same one, but you have different angels on the bigger size and then on the smaller size. And then this one I left blank in case you want to add a sentiment there yourself, or a different image. If you want to layer a different image. And then you have this size here, which is 5 1/4. All of these are 5 1/4 with different angels on them. Okay, so this is already ready on Teatime and Dolls Etsy shop. So if you're interested, you can purchase them there. And then here's the mailbox that the digital I had created a little while ago. This has been in the Etsy shop for a while. And then, you know, you get these parts that do come out. And I know some people already seen, you know, a video where I've done this, but I have new viewers that might not know that, so that's why I'm sharing that information again. And then look how pretty this is. I love it. So here I used the same designer paper, layered, and there's that sentiment. And then here's the dress form. This is from a digital collection that I also created called Doily Dreams. And this comes in a bundle with other elements. It doesn't come with the designer paper, because when I first started, that was the first collection I ever created. And I didn't think to add elements with the papers. So I ended up bundling all of the elements into a bundle. So you will get this in a bundle of other elements. So there's that one. Pretty. I love it. And I did back it up on a pink cardstock. So it has, you know, like this layer back here, and then it has the dress form on top, because I wanted to make it a little bit sturdier. And then you have these, and these two here, these 2 elements are also a part of the Victorian Lace Tea Party designer paper collection. Isn't that pretty? These right here will be cute when you're gifting like cosmetics or perfume, you know, and you hang them on your packaging, or you include it, you know, with your little note in there. So pretty. I love the way these turned out. So I'm going to share how I actually I'm not going to share how I did the paper bead because there's so many videos on how to do that. But I am going to share how I used embossing powder on the paper bead, okay? So to seal a bead with embossing powder, of course you're going to need the embossing powder ink pad, and then the clear, it has to be clear embossing powder so that the design on your bead can show. And of course you're going to need a heat tool gun, which I have one right here. And all you do is, you know, you put it in something that's not going to really move that much, and then you roll it into your ink pad. And then you take your clear embossing powder and you dip it in. Man, this tube was so convenient. I'm so glad my friend Carmen put it in this tube, because I can get that in there without having to put, you know, to shake this off, you know, like to sprinkle it on, and then having to, you know, pour it back in here. This was so convenient. And then you just take your heat tool gun and you heat it up. And then look how pretty. It looks like a polished bead. And you can, you know, do it again if you want. Re-wet it, or while it's still hot, you know, dip it in your embossing powder and then do it again so you can get another layer. That's all that's to that. It's not rocket science or brain surgery. It's really simple. And it's not my idea. I got this off of, you know, so many talented ladies who make beads, and they have tips, you know, on how to make your own paper beads. So, okay, I have, you saw this one, and then this one here. Look how pretty with the butterfly. Or you can make your own designer paper too by stamping on the paper. Okay, so to make this paper flower, you're going to need copy paper. So you're going to print, whether it's a digital designer paper, you know, that you get on Etsy or other websites, or whether it's a paper pad that has paper that's almost like copy paper. It's not cardstock at all. It might be a little bit thicker than copy paper, but this is going to work as well. This I ordered on Hobby Lobby some time ago. It's called Barnwood Pretty 180 sheets by the Paper Studio, and this is like copy-weight paper, so you can use designer paper that's copy-weight paper, or you can print on copy paper. And then you're going to take the 8.5 by 11 size, which is landscape, and you're just going to rip that. I usually just rip it in half. And then this is what I get. And I also, since I print where there's a border, I cut off all the borders first, okay? So that's what I do. And then I decide how, you know, how wide I want the flower. I don't really make them that big, as you can see, because this is great for like when you make journals. You could also just leave it at one layer. You don't have to actually do 2 layers. And I just decide, okay, maybe I want it this wide. And then I just start ripping by hand. And it's not going to be perfect, and you don't want it perfect anyway. Okay, so this is one layer. And then the one layer is going to be bigger than the other. So I think I'll make this one a little bit smaller. And you're going to need a circle. I just use a 1-inch punch to make circles. You can also do it manually. And then I fold this in half, and then I fold it in half again. This is how I do it. And then I just rip, rip, rip. Sorry about that, guys. I usually mute my phone and I totally forgot. Anyway, so we ripped those, and you're going to do the same thing to this piece, but I'm going to put this one aside because I don't want to mix it. Okay, then you take your circle. You can cut these out manually, and you're going to need glue, and I'm going to use a hot glue gun because it's going to be much quicker. All right, and all you're going to do is I'm going to leave this one here. You're going to just gather it like this. This is all you're doing. It's gathering it. You're not making score lines to make a rosette. You're gathering. So these are gathered flowers. And I'm going to find my center and put that right there. Then I'm going to take, oopsie, another one here. This one is, okay, I'm going to try to do the best I can with this one. So that's all I did, was I just gathered. And I'm going to put it on the opposite side of this. Right here. And I'm going to take another one and just gathering it like this. And it's not going to be perfect, and art is not perfect anyway. Like that. And last one. Okay. And I do distress the edges, but I do it after I assemble all the flowers. And here you have the first layer. You can leave it like this if you want a flat flower and just embellish it and, you know, distress your edges with your ink pad. And then again, I'm going to fold this in half and then fold it in half again. And rip it here and rip it there. Okay? And of course, like I said, you want this part smaller. And you're just repeating the same pattern of gathering it and gluing it down. Okay, let's finish this up. And here's your paper flower. And if you want to, you know, make it a little bit more rounder, then you can go ahead and start trimming a little bit more. But it doesn't require a die, which is great about this. And some people don't have a die, and they don't have a die cutting machine either. So this is another way to make your pretty gathered flowers. This one came out at least a little bit flower. They're all going to come out different. This one came out a little bit more dimensional. This one came out a little bit more flatter. So I noticed when I was doing them, some came out more dimensional and some came out more flatter. So it's going to come out different every time, which I do love. I love that. So that's how you create that. It's really quick and simple. And you know, you cut these ahead of time, like you cut your strips ahead of time, and then all you got to do is assemble them. Okay, it's that quick and easy. Thank you for joining me today. Please be safe, everybody. God bless you all. Let's share, be fair, be filled with love, and love one another. Take good care, everybody.